Every man, woman, and child. Even Jesus got his crown in front of a crowd. They marched with the torch, we gon' run with it now. Never look back, we done gone hundreds of miles. From dark roads, heroes, to become a hero. Facing the League of Justice, his rival was the people. Enemy is lethal, a king became regal. Saw the face of Jim Crow under the palm eagle. The biggest weapon is to stay peaceful. Patreon music is the cuts that we bleed through. Somewhere in the dream we had an epiphany. Now we right the wrongs in history. We remember that individually. Kids and elders and young people's energy. Into the story we call victory. Over the Lord, my eyes have seen the glory. Welcome very much to a very special Zenny 62 on YouTube that I want you to pay attention to, because this is a passion project, if you will. This really started because in covering the blogging about, I'm a blogger, the quest of the Oakland Athletics for a ballpark, I uncovered more studies that were done over the past 2 years, in particular released over the past year plus, that showed that the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum and the Oakland Airport Business Park and the Oakland Airport and East Oakland were all slated to be the focus of intense flooding of up to 72 inches, that's 6 feet in height, in just a generation of time. Now, folks, I've lived in Oakland since April 8th of 74. The idea of a shrinking bay was originally the focus. Why? Because of all the landfill that was put in to effectively give more space to build buildings and structures like the Oakland Airport, the San Francisco International Airport and its runways, and so on. The trouble is that new property, that new land, came with a price: erosion and a rising sea level that at the time no one posited it, because the warming of the planet had not become an issue. It was only starting to become an issue. Fast forward to today, and we have this, which shouldn't be a battle, between whether or not the Oakland Athletics should build at Howard Terminal or the Coliseum. It was a problem that was exacerbated because the original target land property was actually Laney College, but not only did the Peralta Community College Board reject it, but a number of the students that I interviewed 3 years ago told me they didn't want it. This is on camera here at Zenny62 on YouTube. They simply didn't want the Athletics to build a giant stadium on their ball fields. So the focus became Howard Terminal, in part because the mayor of Oakland put out a unique dual exclusive negotiating agreement, which gave the Athletics a choice, okay? A choice between going to the Coliseum to build their stadium, their ballpark, or Howard Terminal. What the Athletics did, which was a kind of a work of sinister genius, was they chose both. They chose both. And they fashioned a plan that I thought originally was a type of expression of a desire to build a baseball village concept at the Coliseum, but then build the actual ballpark at Howard Terminal, which is where Jack London's next to Jack London Square.
But that wasn't the case at all. By their own presentation of a design, okay? By their own presentation of a design, the Athletics expressed the idea that they had no intention of building on that property. And Dave Cavall had told me, well, he's got to spend $400 million for a platform there. But the problem is bigger than just the Athletics. It's huge. Current studies now point to the fact that within 19 years, absent mitigation, and God forbid we have a giant earthquake again, I-880, which goes by the Coliseum, will also be flooded. In fact, most of what we call East Oakland will be impacted by that problem, which includes, that's right, a number of homes and apartment and condominium complexes that are there and ones that are slated to be built. So after I started releasing this information that was going to, that made its focus the East Oakland Stadium Alliance, which is a group of people who comprise some of Oakland's finest manufacturing businesses and transportation businesses, that say they don't want Howard Terminal used because it will impact their corporations. The problem is that I know for a fact that if the city had actually approached the group, even in secret, their tune would be different. They want to be at Howard Terminal for the right price, if you will. And the right price isn't to imply that they need, money in their pocket, but they want certain improvements that will help their business. And it's incumbent upon the city to work with them and also to establish the agency called for an SB 293 Skinner, which is the Bible around the Howard Terminal project, to actually put their plans within the total economic development and community plan. That should have been done a long time ago. It's way behind. Now, the minute I put that out, I had a couple of people who I email when I put out something, say, take me off your list. There was no real list, but both of these folks are involved in real estate. Okay. Both of these folks are involved in real estate. And I regard as good people I simply have a disagreement with. But everyone forgets this. I am entitled to my opinion. And so rather than debate me, because they know I know this subject, and our economic and redevelopment law much better than they do, in bond financing process much better than they ever would. And they've made a ton of mistakes in their presentation. The people who go out and call themselves journalists, and I'm not a journalist, okay, have decided all of a sudden to attack me with the whole, oh, you must be paid for this sort of thing. And so that is what led me to present the blog post, this one, that the link of which is here. And I'm not going to take you through the whole of it because, as someone had said, well, oh, it's really long to read. And yeah, there's a lot there. Okay. But what it talks about is something that I've gone through for most of my life in this business. And that as a Black man, I cannot have my own opinion. It has to be influenced by somebody else. But the people who claim that, who are white, are paid by other people. So in a number of cases, they will advance a particular point of view, and you'll turn around and find that, hey, they were paid to, or they were in line with others in a group that were paid to support an opinion. But do I call them out on that? No. I'm not trying to shut down an opinion. My point is simply this. And today, I'm going to relax that claim about calling people I'm going to call an organization. But my fact is simply this. If you believe your argument is better than mine, then debate me. Take me on as a debate. Don't try to discredit me in some kind of way that adds up to you acting like a white police officer giving a black person a ticket on trumped up claims and writing a false police report. There's a lot of that going around. Okay. Why add to it? And why even invite the appearance that you're adding to it? Unless, of course, someone is paying you because all of a sudden they perceive me as hampering their real estate holdings. That's kind of what it's starting to look like. This guy right here you see in your picture, Phil Bronstein, who was the executive editor of the San Francisco Chronicle at the time we did this interview, called me an insurgent, which means a rebel or revolutionary. He wanted the San Francisco Chronicle to hire me to run their website. Instead, why? Because I dominated the traffic that was generated by the City Bytes group. I was responsible for 1/4 of the 100 million page views that was generated by the City Bytes group, which is within the news division, which is ran by a guy named Stefan Schwartz, who's now CEO. He emailed me and offered to take me to dinner in New York and then backed off of it. Never forgot that. So what that all means is, hey, I'm responsible for getting him his job. Does he owe me money? No. He already said thank you. You're welcome. Now, I have a long history through this. I'm not going to take you through it. It's all here. I'm not going to repeat it. But what I am going to show you next is the real point. This is the real point. This is the real issue. This is the issue you need to know. This is the issue that people cannot take their eyes off of. It's this. Right here. The simple fact of the matter is that the Coliseum, within a generation, if we don't do something about it, will be flooded. Or, as Urban Next wrote in 2015, Interstate 880 in East Oakland is at imminent risk of flooding. As sea levels rise, threaten the operations on this lifeline artery in the coming decades, writes. The 2-mile stretch of I-880 along San Leandro Bay will no longer be viable without significant modifications. Instead of building it higher, ABC proposes protecting it in a tunnel. The last generation built interstates over creeks, which constrain ecological habitats. Further generations can flip this model and tunnel beneath waterways, ensuring healthy ecosystems and a longer useful lifespan for the freeway as the sea levels continue to rise. Tunnels can control polluted air by filtering it before it reaches nearby neighborhoods. Creating a resilient corridor transforms the existing I-880 barrier and stitches together the divided urban fabric of East Oakland. That's a brilliant idea, but it makes the point. The flooding is expected to be so bad, folks, so bad that, quite simple, all right, the neighborhoods as we know it will be arguably destroyed unless we do something like build a seawall. This is a huge problem. I don't know how many times I have to say that this is a huge problem. This is the area that we're talking about. This is the map that was presented in something called the Oakland Sea Level Rise Roadmap. Now, in light blue are those areas that are expected, where sea level is expected to rise by approximately 48 inches. But in dark blue, it's 72 inches. You see the area where my arrow is, where it says Oakland Sea Level Rise problem there? That's East Oakland. The arrow that I have right here, that's on the Coliseum. That's on the arena. That dot's there. In blue, that's the stadium. Look around it. Look at the dark blue, which is 72 inches immediately on Coliseum grounds. Look at the Oakland Airport down here, 48 inches. Look at the airport business park 72 inches. Look at this. All this is East Oakland. When I was hired by the city of Oakland as an intern, my job was to start something called the Coliseum Redevelopment Area, survey area. It went from here, where the arrow is, all the way down along East 14th to the San Leandro border. If we allowed redevelopment to exist, listen to me, if we allowed redevelopment to continue, if Jerry Brown had not killed it in 2011, we would be able to generate new bond issue money for the resolution of the problem. And get this, folks, in the entire history of the Coliseum redevelopment area, we have never once floated a giant bond issue. We always had the wrong-headed idea that we needed to wait for the tax increment money to grow, when in point of fact, we don't. You forecast it for a bond issue, then you design that bond issue with what's called a debt coverage ratio of 2 to 1. What does that mean? It means that for every $1 of bond cost, you need to take in $2 of revenue. It gives you a nice cushion. And then you fashion the redevelopment agency in such a way that if there is a problem or forecast problem paying off the bond issue, maybe your debt service reserve isn't great enough, you can extend the tax collection period with negotiations with taxing agencies. In our case, BART, AC Transit, the Alameda County, EB Mud Flood Control District, and the school district. So, but we didn't get a chance to do that because we let go of redevelopment. And we did so for the wrong reasons. And Governor Brown most recently said that he didn't like the idea of subsidized housing in downtown Oakland. He said that last year. So are we to think that he got rid of redevelopment because he didn't want to see low-income African Americans in Oakland? He made comments that pretty much lean toward that, but no one in the media, save from one person, picked that up. I'm not a journalist. I'm a blogger. There is an effort here to maintain an economic structure that is racist toward Oakland and discriminatory toward Oakland by first advancing the idea that whatever might happen to be afoot, any plan maintaining the athletics or retaining the Raiders or the Golden State Warriors, all of those are criticized by a media that's San Francisco biased in many different ways. This has gone on for quite some time. And that's why it's important to fight back. We need to activate SB 628 Deal, another piece of legislation you probably haven't heard anyone else talk about, but it's been on the books since 2015. It was called the Son of Redevelopment. We can use that for infrastructure. We can use that to essentially restart the Coliseum redevelopment area. We need to fix that area. Right now, that area should not be considered buildable. It's not. It's not. And those of you out there wanting to advance the idea that it is, you need to stop doing it. You're hurting a lot of people. You're not helping anybody. In particular, you're not helping the people down there. And those of you who are involved in real estate down there should be pushing for the government to do its job. That's why so many people are leaving anyway, because government's not doing its job. The government must do its job. Howard Terminal represents the best option for the athletics. They know it. All right? They know it. They wanted Laney College. Again, Peralta Community College Board said no. Not only did the Peralta Community College Board say no, but they made a video about it, which I'm not going to bother to show you here. Okay? But they did. And it's on Zenny62 YouTube. Now, I'm going to have a little more fun here, although some of you may not consider it fun. Because for those who are saying, well, he had to be paid for this and all this, look, first of all, Zenny 62 Media discloses its clients. But that's not the point. The point is this. Why don't you tell the truth regarding organizations that perhaps you've been freelance for or worked for, and you're watching this, or you perhaps are a columnist or a reporter for organizations that are owned by Hearst Media, Hearst Corporation, and which owns Hearst Media Services. Yeah, Hearst Media Services. Here. This is what I'm about to show you. Hearst Media Services. Have a look. This is Hearst Media Services. They're media experts, as I say. They do web presence and branding. They do behavioral targeting. And they do reputation management. Reputation management. Now, let's scroll down. Oh, and search engine marketing. Let's not forget that, quite important. Regardless, let's scroll down, and what do we have? Ooh, what are these? These are the logos of the Houston Chronicle, the San Antonio Express News, the San Francisco Chronicle, the Times Union, the CT Post, Cron.com in Houston, Seattle Post Intelligencer, SA, the SFGate.com, Times Union, Local Edge, which is a kind of a digital company that Hearst owns, Beaumont Enterprise, Connecticut Post, the News Times, the Advocate, and the Greenwich Times. Let's click on the San Francisco Chronicle. Okay. What does that get us? You know what it gets us when you click on that logo? It gets us this. Excuse me. Marketing.sfgate.com. Reach and engage your customers through reputation management. Okay? Reputation management, which means, hey, how do we know that anything they put out doesn't have some sort of client money behind it? And here's my question to you. Why don't you ask? I'm asking you. Why don't you ask? And by the way, I might remind you, monetizing media has been a big issue with a lot of people. A lot. Meanwhile, organizations like the Bay Area News Group, yep, they've been doing the same thing. Okay, you have doubts? Figured you might. All right, all you have to do is go to Google and do what I just did. Type Bay Area News Group, ta-da, and what do you see? Bay Area News Group, Bay Area Digital Marketing Company. That's the first thing that comes up, folks. All right? Digital Marketing Company. They don't use the term reputation management like Hearst does. Hearst is really bold. Hearst is huge. Hey, they just paid $52 million for a building in San Francisco after unloading the building they owned at 110 Fifth Street, which is the home of the San Francisco Chronicle. They have 350 corporations, folks. They have subsidies they received from the New York government for property taxes into the millions. Talking about Hearst Corporation, which owns Hearst Media Services. But Bay Area News Group, they like you to think, they're objective. There's no, folks, let me tell you why I don't call myself a journalist, because I'm not objective. There's no such thing as objectivity in news. The moment you decide to take on an assignment, that shows your bias. Just like you're showing your bias by coming after me. You don't want somebody black stating their own opinion. It's obvious by your actions. Tell the truth about the Coliseum and the flooding. The question is, why aren't you doing that? Are you being paid not to do that? What are you afraid of? Losing your advertisers? Oh, 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 oh. I have a right to choose my opinions. The question is, why would some of you out there take money from some organizations that are trying to defraud whole corporations? Because some of you are, and I know who you are. This has gone on for a long, long time. Some of you had stock or offered stock, and some of you yet claim to be journalists. Hey, I hope you're having fun. Because in all of your machinations, you've managed to prop up third world organizations that openly backed committing fraud against American companies, and you said nothing about it. Even when I put the question to you, even when it was obvious that many of you were also on the take. Just saying. Just saying. I have the right to my opinions. I also have the right to troll. And just as the song Glory reveals, victory is won. Victory is won. Something else too. Okay. Since I'm having so much fun, I am having absolute blast here. Okay. Let's go further into this. Cleaner, brighter, bolder. Digital solutions. Owned and operated media. Ooh. I feel like Javier Bardem in Skyfall. Ooh, right? Look at these. Digital solutions. Programmatic marketing. Ooh. Email marketing. Ooh. Search engine marketing. Ooh. Native advertising. Web design. Lead hacks. The Bay Area News Group's digital marketing effort is the competitor to Hearst Media Services. This is the dark underbelly that these so-called trolls and these white journalists don't want you to know about, that they never talk about or write about, ever. And they're always nameless. Okay? Always. Always. I don't care to know your name. I know who you are. I know your names. Doesn't matter. But this is my time. Because the truth is, purely and simply, you got it, about East Oakland and the flooding down there. Because again, I know none of this became an issue about me until I raised that issue. So how do I know that you're not being paid by the East Oakland Stadium Alliance? Hey, friends. Love ya. Just saying. Isn't this so beautiful? Debate me with your real name, with your affiliation, and let me see your face. Debate me on the issue of the AZ, either Howard Terminal or the Coliseum. And I remind you, the debate was already ended by the A's years ago. What are you doing? Are we in this because you just suddenly decided to pay attention? Were you not there when Dave Cavall, A's president, and Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf, and Assemblyman Rob Bonta marched forward to have him sign, the governor sign, SB 293 Skinner, along with Nancy Skinner, our great senator, once assembly person? No, you were not paying attention at all. Only a tiny bit of people were. Now all of a sudden you're paying attention and you think you can reinvent the wheel. You can't. But then riddle me this. Why is it that some of the same folks out there, some of you, maybe like yourself, okay? Why is it that when the San Francisco Giants, when the San Francisco Giants had their version of tax increment financing used, why didn't you write against it? Hello? I can't hear you. Let me ask again. Why is it that when tax increment financing was used, okay? And don't tell me you didn't know. I don't want to hear it. Lame excuse. Why didn't you go down there and start screaming about it? Even, in reverse. Why is it so okay for San Francisco to use tax increment financing, but not Oakland? Huh? I just want to know. Where were you? All right. What about the Warriors? Okay. When the Warriors had Governor Brown, in fact, the Warriors had Governor Brown give them an exemption to use tax increment financing. All right. To use tax increment financing. All right. To use tax increment financing down there in Mission Bay. Okay. Why? Where were you? Where were you? I'm just asking. I'm just asking. All right. Okay. I'm just curious to know. Okay. I mean, it's just right. Okay. And you would say, Zenny, what are you talking about? Oh, what am I talking about? Oh, my Lord. You mean you don't know about this? Mission Bay South Tax Increment Allocation Pledge Agreement? Let me read it to you. This Mission Bay South Tax Increment Allocation Pledge Agreement. This agreement, dated as of November 16th, 1998, between the City and County of San Francisco, a charter city and county, the city, and the Redevelopment Agency of the City and County of San Francisco, a public body, corporate and politic. Okay? Unless otherwise defined. All right? Yeah. That's a redevelopment project area. It has been for some time. And guess what? The Warriors got and received an exemption to continue to use that. Or did you not know that? Huh? Why do you think? Look at this. Look at what this says. All right. What does this URL say that I've highlighted? GSW Event Center. All right. Mission Bay Planning. What the hell do you think that stands for? It stands for Golden State Warriors. Wake up, will you, pal? Wake up. All you got to do is this. Bingo. Bango. Zinga Zanga Zango. Event Center. Golden State Warriors Event Center and Mixed Use Project. Okay, is right here. Boom. Ooh. Ah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So again, I ask you, why didn't you get after them for using tax increment financing when they did? I'm just saying. Looks to me like, hey, somebody needs to start doing their homework. Okay? Okay? You need to start doing your homework. Just saying. Or are you being paid by Petro Ecuador? There's a lot of their money going around this day. Boomsier. Yeah. So, folks, Golden State Warriors Event Center. Look at that. Okay. All the documents are here. scoping agencies meetings, EIR, Office of Community Investment and Infrastructure, all of it. It's all here. Includes the tax increment financing zone that I mentioned to you. All right. Read this. Golden State Warriors Event Center and Mixed Use Project. Okay. And again, what did I find that was in it? What is this? Mission-based South Tax Increment Allocation Pledge Agreement. They took that agreement, grandfather, they brought it forward, and they kept it in line. It's still part of the documentation. What was it? I'll tell you what it was. On the part of the late Ed Lee, who was my client when he was over the Human Rights Commission, and I worked on behalf of Polaris to do research for a study called African Americans in San Francisco in 1960 to 1990. Did a brilliant job, Ed Lee did later. Certainly did. All right. And that, in all of this, is simply why, for those of you who say, well, he's not a journalist. I never claimed to be. All right. Ever. Going back a long, long time. A long time, okay? So long. All right? So very long that my still friend, Larry Beal, had me on his show. He purely and simply, and I will show you.
Look at John Connor.
Excuse me for a second.
And our job creation is exciting.
Purely and simply put it out there and said what you are about to hear, which basically goes like this. Here is Larry Beal in all of his glory. This was 2013. Well, actually, it was before that. It was actually 2010 that he said this. But here is Larry.
I got the blogger Denny Abraham was texting me last night in the middle of the show
going, hey, man, you lost my bet regarding Hope Solo. Remember that, Larry? I do. Larry had a show that I was a guest on talking about Hope Solo when I was City Bright's blogger for SF Gate, which is one other reason why I generated more traffic for that organization than any other section of that website, including at the most popular one at the time, the Daily Dish. Instead of rewarding me with a consultancy or some type of, or even the opportunity to, hey, interview to be executive director, they didn't do that at all. Instead, they wanted to know if I was using illegal code. Illegal code. You have all of these folks, mostly white by far, developing their own code. But if a black guy happens to develop a different type of way of blogging, which I say is a type of coding, suddenly it has to be illegal. Really. And there's a lot more I could say about that. And if I had said it back then, someone would have gotten fired. If not then later. You hear me? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I estimate I generated $101,000 for the San Francisco Chronicle during the period that I was blogging for them. No, I don't want any of that money. If they had hired me to run sfgate.com, we would have advanced on the forerunner for what is now called non-fungible, that's right, tokens. Kevin Skaggs and I agreed that media was market, the market of the future, with values that rise and fall on a per content basis per seconds of the day. An online market that still has never been effectively built. But we were working on that sort of thing back then. We had a lot of fun. You hear me? That's the real media, folks. That's your real San Francisco Chronicle. All right. I'm going to check on who won American Idol, and I'm checking my mom since I'm here helping her out. So I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly did. And there's a lot more to come, folks. A lot more. But remember something. Don't you ever get in your mind that you know something more about a subject that I choose to take on than I do, to where you say, oh, he's got to be paid for it. Sometimes I'm just smarter than you are at subjects I pick. If you want to find out what I know, want to find out my history, debate me about it. Bring out what you think you know. I'll bring out what I think I know and what I know and my history. Because what I know about the Coliseum redevelopment area and the Coliseum area compared to what you know or what you think you know is like comparing the destructive power of an H-bomb to that of a kitchen match. Yeah, in a debate, I'll make you look so bad it's not funny. Debate me. Stop with the gaslighting and all this stuff. Just simply debate me. See you, everybody.